But yeah,
Now on to
so
recruiting.
now on to the world of recruiting after that little bit of an introduction. Yeah. So we are in the month of June, and this is when the official visit window is opened. And, we had our first group of visitors last weekend, at the end of May into June, because of the way that the calendar falls. That was the first official visit weekend. Early returns were strong from a lot of different players. The Enterprise Alabama trio that was down, Byron Lewis, the running back from American Heritage in Plantation, there's been innumerable all-stars, college, high school all-stars into college players who have gone there. Your Brian Burnses, your Charvis McFadden's, your Pat Sertans, your Tyson Campbell in the same class, the Wilson brothers, Marco Wilson and Quincy before him, were, four-star defensive backs. I mean, there's all kinds of guys who go to American Heritage, and Byron Lewis is another one of them. There's several that are on the Miami Hurricanes roster right now, led by, Mark Fletcher. The guy who has succeeded Fletcher at the starting running back spot, Byron Lewis, was one who was on a visit last week and purportedly had a great time. There was a lot of articles and chatter, coming out of that weekend of it's funny. I was DMing with Gabby Rudia from Inside the U about it. I was like, man, we got to get these kids, thesauruses, to use different words to get their point across. Because if I see another, they've set the standard, or they've changed the game, again, it's just like you hear it one time, it's just a very common turn of phrase. It was like after LeBron in the decision chose Miami, everybody was taking their talents with every decision that they had. It was just that, ubiquitous turn of phrase. So seeing a couple of those kind of things pop up after the weekend, like, this is, change the game or set the standard or blah, blah. But for all of these kids' recruitments, to finish that thought. But seeing that happen means that the staff is doing a great job in recruiting. And again, as the visits happen, this is another data point towards the entire picture of a recruitment coming together. Sorry, excuse me. So, Miami is going to continue to lay the foundation for this class through this month and moving forward. Last year, or the year before, I forget, I think it was last year, I was saying, I would feel very good if Miami had insert number of commitments by the 4th of July, which happens to be on a Thursday this year. And that did not happen last year, but then the run happened literally like the week after the 4th of July, which makes sense. You get families together, you got the cookout, like, hey, mom, dad, grandpa, whomever, let's look at the entire recruiting picture, and then going towards senior season, make a decision. So I'm not going to put a timeline on it this year because, I can plan here and did, before, and was off by a week-ish, like 4 or 5 days, and then things started popping, and I'm like, I'm not going to, be a fear monger or anything like that. But through this summer, I think that we're going to see positive movement, guys jumping in the boat in this class. We're going to continue to fight for a lot of top guys through the season, which we saw, even if you go to a Justin Scott, right, who did not end up committing here, but is moved in, is on campus, 5-star defensive tackle from Chicago, right, did not sign with O State, flipped to Miami, signed, and is enrolled and on campus now, him and Artavius Jones both. So those defensive tackles in this class. But that was not a fight that was won by throwing jabs in the first round, that was a heavyweight recruiting battle that took a minute to get to its firm and final conclusion. So, I'm not going to really waste too much time diving into the nitty gritty and making these sweeping protestations about the state of things. I'm very confident in this staff. I'm very confident in this recruiting department. And I think that we continue to be delivered classes from the high school recruiting ranks and transfer portal ranks that verify or that back up that, that faith. I will say Wade and Charles, 4-star wide receiver from Palm Beach Central, decommitted from Miami recently. He's a kid who had been one of the most long tenured commits in this class, opening things back up and evaluating his decisions. he could, end up back in the boat at Miami, or he could go somewhere else. But I also just wanted to put that out there that, like, yes, I saw that happened. That is true and correct. To note. So, he took a visit to Arkansas, or is taking a visit to Arkansas this upcoming weekend. Don't think that he has any other visits scheduled waiting Charles at this time. But we will see. So you're going to, have some who jump in the boat and some who jump out. Previously, Lamar Williams, the tackle from Gadsden County, also decommitted, 3-star, 6'7", 310-pound guy. So Miami's going to continue to see optimization in the class. Hopefully, we're going to add some guys. One of the ones that we're not going to add, unfortunately, is the number 1 linebacker in the country, Zayden Walker. Just today committed to the University of Georgia. And that is a player that Miami had been chasing very strongly through this recruiting cycle. We do already have Elijah Menendez at linebacker, TJ Alford committed to O State. So that's a guy at linebacker that, at this point plans to go somewhere else. Not a firm and final decision. Could be, because, hey, we flipped some from that school in other schools and some we have not. So we'll see that. But the Walker kid is just a freak. Just a freak. I mean, he's everybody's number 1 linebacker in this class for good reason. I mean, he's big, fast, strong. He leaps tall buildings in a single bound. I mean, it's like he does all of the things that you could want. And Miami was engaged, like very engaged in that recruitment. He got him on campus a couple times, I want to say, for unofficials through this process. Coaches going up to Georgia, where he's from, and trying to build that relationship and make a positive impact in that recruitment. And regardless of the positive impact that was made, in the end, he has decided to commit to Kirby Smart's Bulldogs, which, I mean, that's just another monster team that is reloading on the defensive side of the ball, which has been the foundation for their success. Because, they've been doing some good things on offense, but really just having capital letters dudes on their defense is really the trademark of that Georgia program right now. And Zayden Walker being the latest addition to that, moving into the next class, will just kind of keep that elite talent train going to Athens. So that changes things, because when you miss out on a guy of that caliber, I mean, like missing on TJ Alford, a high 4-star guy from the state of Florida, plays the position as well. That also matters very strongly. But like when you're recruiting with the big boys, it's like they Omar said in The Wire, come at the king, you best not miss, right? So you're going for that number 1 guy, right? Maybe you could have put extra time into TJ Alford, but you know what? We're chasing Zayden Walker. Maybe there's other guys on the trail. It's like, we could have put other time into recruiting them, but we're going here. And if you get them, that's great. And if you miss on them, that creates residual issues. So a little bit of a opening, kind of a speech or look at, or, just the general state of recruitment. I know that there's probably some questions, and, we'll definitely look at the official visitors coming up this weekend, because like I said, it is official visit season, and we're going to continue to move forward to build the class that will hopefully, just continue to add the kind of talent on the roster that this staff and recruiting department knows we need and will be able to deliver.
Which I got to think is less of a quandary as you go up the list of superpowers in college football in regards to where to allocate resources, because they figure just about they're in on, or could be in on, just about anybody on the map. We could list all the schools we're talking about, then we can include Miami. Also Miami, because of the proliferation of the talent within the state. Whereas if you insert school Mississippi State, Missouri, Kansas State, whomever, their allocation of resources based on what they're able to get, still trying to win football games, have a really good program, but also weigh what's reasonable. I got to think they really wrestle with those kind of situations.
Oh, yeah. No, they definitely do. And you have guys like, thinking specifically Missouri, Dorial Green Beckham, the wide receiver who was number 1 in America, right? Luther Burden from East St. Louis, Illinois, which is Jeff Thomas for Miami Hurricanes fans, same town. It is across the state line in Illinois, but like, hey, these are guys who are like, they went all in and like, hey, we need to get this guy. In their case, they got both of them, but there have been other cases where like, yeah, they don't. And then like, it's okay, like that's a huge hole on our roster now, not only for this year, but for a couple of years now, moving forward. So yeah, you really just have to look at it. And I mean, Miami has the resources to be a recruiting power. And I think that we are, if you couple the structures in place and the tenacity of the staff in recruiting with like, a championship kind of season, even if that is a conference championship and not a national championship, like you should see, I believe like Miami should easily be able to deliver top 5 recruiting class or top 3 this cycle. But there's still work to be done. There's still a ways to go to get there. But I believe it to be possible. Also wanted to say that congratulations to Miami Hurricanes 2025 quarterback commit Luke Nickel for making it to the Elite 11 quarterback camp. So he will be the first participant since Jaron Williams, maybe, who to sign with Miami, who went to Elite 11. So excited for him to see that. And his Milton High School team also just continues to win championships. So they won the state championship in Georgia last year, running through a pretty tough gauntlet and dispatching at least 2 teams who are thought to be higher title contenders than they. So, slaying some dragons along the way, but then also winning the team championship at Georgia Tech's camp today. So, hey, our incoming quarterback continues to throw dots, continues to develop, and continues to lead his team to championships. And before you poo-poo that, imagine that he hadn't, right? Imagine that, okay, his team goes to Georgia Tech and some unknown jabroni from unknown Jabronieville, Georgia, leads their team, and then it's, what's Luke Nickel doing? He's playing there and he's not able to deliver. I'm not saying, again, that this makes him a perfect player. I'm not saying that it is like the most impactful thing, but again, multiple data points start to point to the fact of like, maybe this kid has something. He continues to lead teams to victory and hopefully will continue that when he comes to Miami. Speaking of Luke Nickel coming to Miami, he and several other top recruits are going on their official visits to Coral Gables this weekend. I'm not going to read you the whole list, but of note is top 10 overall defensive lineman Elijah Griffin from Savannah Christian Prep, 6'5", 285 at the defensive end. There's a linebacker committed to Georgia, Jaden Perlott from Buford, Georgia, a legacy program in the state of Georgia. Another couple players, Joshua Moore, wide receiver from West Broward, Gavin Nixon, linebacker from IMG Academy, Jalen Matthews, a massive offensive tackle from New Jersey, and others as well. So we will continue to, just track those things. But as Luke has led his team to success on the field, hopefully he will help the Miami Hurricanes, continue to have success off the field in recruiting and build the kind of class that we need to compete for championships consistently moving forward.